friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams. Today I'm going to talk to you about the books that I've read so far in the month of February. I'm hoping to keep up with letting you know halfway through the month how my reading is going so that I don't have to recap all of the books at the end of the month, since I tend to read quite a few. It's hard sometimes to remember everything. So far this month I have completed 6 books and I'm in the middle of 3 other ones. So I'm making a lot of progress already in February. Let's jump right into it. The first book that I finished was a buddy read that I did with Rainey from Rainy Day Reads, and we read The Girl in the Tower by Catherine Arden. This is the second book in the Winter Night trilogy. The first one is The Bear and the Nightingale. I loved this book. I'm so glad, because the first time Rainey and I did a buddy read together, I didn't really care for the book at all. I think she liked it a little better than I did, but I didn't like it. And so I was so thrilled that we both really enjoyed this one. I think I kind of liked it a little bit better even than The Bear and the Nightingale. This series is a historical fantasy, I'll say. It takes place kind of in a medieval Russia setting, but it is a fantasy. I can't say too much about this one because it is a sequel. However, we do still follow Vasilisa in her, we carry on her story from the first book. Part of the reason I liked this better than the first one is that there's not as much clash between Christianity, or the way that Christianity is portrayed in this book, and the spiritualism, this kind of spiritual world that Vasilisa can see. And that is still definitely a part of this book, but that clash that is a major part of the first book isn't so much a part of this one. In this one, there are these raiders that are terrorizing the land and kind of burning up these villages and stealing all the young girls, and Vasilisa is out to stop them, among other people as well. So there's a lot that I can't talk about because it's a sequel. Just know that I did like it a lot better. Not a lot better. I really enjoyed the first one, but I did enjoy this one a little bit more, and I loved reading it with Rainey, and I'm really excited to read the third one and finish up this series. Very good. I gave it 4 stars. Really enjoyed it. The second book that I read, I also gave 4 stars and really loved, and that's How to Walk Away by Catherine Center. This is my Goodreads read-along pick for the month of February. So I don't want to talk too much about it in case some of you haven't read it yet, but maybe me talking about it will encourage you to read it and join that group discussion that's going on over in my Goodreads read-along group, and just share your thoughts on this book. But this is a contemporary, not so much romance, kind of romance, but this is a contemporary fiction. Our main character in this one is Margaret. She is kind of at a high point in her life. She's in a relationship, and she, at the very beginning of the book, gets engaged and is about to get the job that she's always wanted. But things take a turn for the worse. First of all, her fiance is awful. In the midst of everything going seemingly swimmingly for her, there's a tragedy that happens, and she is in a plane crash. And this book kind of walks through the outcome of that plane crash. It is realistic in the difficulties that she has to face, both within her own emotions and how the people around her respond to what has happened to her. There's some tricky family stuff going on with her sister and parents and herself, and there is a physical therapist that she has to work with at the hospital who is a surly Scottish man who is kind of a little thorn in her side for a while, and she's kind of determined to bust through his shell a little bit. It's really lovely. I flew through this book in about 2 days. I absolutely loved it. I loved the outcome, and that's all I want to say about it. I don't want to say too much more, but I really did enjoy this book. This is the second Catherine Center book that I have read, and I absolutely loved both of them. She is an author for me to watch out for sure. The third book I finished in the month of February I listened to on audio, and that is Enna Burning by Shannon Hale. This is the sequel to The Goose Girl, which I listened to in January. I'm determined to finish up this series this year, and I'm really enjoying the audiobooks of this series. It's full cast, which is so much fun. So there's different voices for the different characters. In Enna Burning, it takes place after the events of The Goose Girl, and Enna is one of the characters that we met in Goose Girl. She's friends with Izzy, who's the Goose Girl. And Enna lives in the forest with her brother, And one day her brother comes home and she discovers that he has this ability to light things on fire. And she's always been drawn to fire, and she kind of wants this ability for herself. But when she gets it, things are a little bit more difficult than she expected. It was very sweet, very, very cute. I think I gave Goose Girl 4 stars. This one I only gave 3 stars. I didn't quite like it as much as I liked Goose Girl. In looking at reviews, I've kind of seen that this is people's least favorite. For some people, this is their least favorite in the series. I don't know if I can say that or not yet because I haven't read the rest of them, but it was okay. I thought it was cute. I liked the story, but I do look forward to continuing on with the last 2. I finished one of the nonfiction books that I started in January, and that is Sacred Rhythms by Ruth Haley Barton. And this book I really enjoyed. It's one that I think I should go back and read maybe just one chapter at a time. I actually feel like I want to do a small group in my church of this book and read it with other people slowly over a long period of time. I did kind of push myself to finish it and read it quickly, which is a big detriment to the book because each chapter has these practical ways to put in place each of these different rhythms that she talks about, such as solitude, prayer, honoring your body, confession, kind of all of these different practices that she talks about, all of these different rhythms that she talks about. She gives definitely some practical advice and encourages you to take time to really sit with each of these things. And I didn't do that. I kind of skimmed over the end of each chapter that had the practical applications. So this is one I can definitely see myself coming back to. I did underline a lot of things. I definitely feel like I would really benefit from taking a slower pace in maybe just picking out a chapter and focusing on that for a little while. So I did give this 5 stars. I felt like I really resonated with the writing and with the practices that she talked about, and definitely can see myself revisiting this one. It was great. A lot of potential in there for me. One of the books that I finished, I'm not going to talk about at all because it's one of the books that I had to read for the Booktube Prize, and I will be doing a vlog of all of those books that will come out after the first round is over. So I can say I did finish Red at the Bone by Jacqueline Woodson, but I'm not going to tell you anything about my thoughts about it, just that I finished it. Then the last book that I finished so far this month is The Fountains of Silence by Ruta Sepetys. I just love Ruta Sepetys. I gave this book 4 stars, and in this book we follow this family of siblings, Anna, Julia, and Rafa, as well as a couple other people. And they live in Spain, in Madrid, and this takes place following the years of the Civil War, where Francisco Franco takes leadership of the country, and he is horrible. And fascism is the rule of the day. And so we're just kind of seeing the fallout of the war and Franco's power. And we're also following this horrible thing that happened during that time in Spain, where a ton of babies were stolen from families who were against Franco. So Republicans and others who were not Francoists, who were not supporting him. They would give birth to a child and then be told that their child died, and that child would be put up for adoption to be placed into a home that supported General Franco and was a strong Catholic family. And this was happening to thousands and thousands of children around the country. And so we're kind of following that storyline, as well as just taking a look at Spain in the years following the Civil War. So bullfighting takes a place in here, and also just seeing the disparity between what Americans saw when they came to Spain, and like Franco tried to put on this front of what Spain was like. And so all of these American celebrities and rich people and politicians would come to Spain and stay in these fancy hotels and not really understand that this is not what Spain is like for the general public. So we kind of see this disparity because we follow this sibling group, Anna, Julia, and Rafa, and we also follow Daniel, who is a young American boy who is a photographer, a budding photographer. And so we kind of follow him as he starts to understand that things aren't quite what they seem. And I loved the look I love that take of the photography as being a lens to kind of take a look at things going on in Spain. There are a few other characters that we get a glimpse into their lives as well, like Rafa's friend Fuga, who is an aspiring bullfighter. I really did enjoy this story. A couple things. I gave it 4 stars. It didn't get 5 stars for me because at the beginning I had a bit of a difficult time getting into the pacing and the structure of the story. Ruta is famous for super short chapters, and I like that, but because there were so many different characters at the beginning, it just felt super choppy, and I had a hard time placing everybody and figuring out what was going on. And also her sentence structure was kind of choppy as well at the beginning. Once I got to know some of the characters and got into the story as a little more, that didn't bother me anymore, and I still was able to fully enjoy the story, but there was just that little bit of a difficult time getting into it for me. She did have a lot to say about fear and courage and silence, and how silence was kind of the name of the day for people in Spain. They were afraid to speak up against things and ask questions about things. And that was definitely a huge part. It's so well named because that was such a huge part of the country. The other reason that I didn't give it a full 5 stars is later on in the book that we have this break in time and we kind of jump ahead 18 years. That was a little bit abrupt as well. I understand the reasoning behind it. I get why that needed to happen, but it did feel a little jarring. But yeah, I definitely really enjoyed this and got a lot out of it, and I loved reading this for Historathon. This is the group pick for that month-long readathon in the month of February, so if you haven't yet picked this one up, I would recommend it. It's a chunk-a-monk book, but it does go really quickly, in part because the story is very compelling, and in part because the chapters are so short that you just feel like you have momentum as you're reading and you're moving forward, which is always motivating for me. So I really enjoyed that one. So good. The 3 that I'm in the middle of as we move forward into February, I am making slow progress in The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. I'm reading this for Lord of the Read-Along. I've seen so many people have been starting to make comments, and so I really need to catch up so that I can stay on top of the comments in the group and see how everybody else is feeling about this. I'm really enjoying it. I'm still very much at the beginning. Bilbo Baggins is the main character in The Hobbit, and he starts out in this one as well, and it's his birthday, and we kind of have seen his birthday, and then he kind of takes off, and that's about where I am right now. And Frodo is kind of left with the ring and the responsibilities of what Bilbo has left behind. So I'm looking forward to continuing on with this one, even if I am still quite a bit intimidated by it. I'm also reading my second book for the Booktube Prize, The Innocents. I'm decently through this one, more than halfway, and I can't tell you anything about my thoughts of this one so far, but I'm glad to be making progress in another one of these. And the third book I'm in the middle of right now is on my Kindle. It is Walking in the Dust of Rabbi Jesus, the other nonfiction that I carried over from January. Still making slow progress on that one as well. So that is it. That's where I'm at halfway through the month of February. I keep wanting to say January. It's not January anymore. I would love to hear from you. How is your reading going so far this month? Have you read any 5-star reads? What is your favorite read so far? What are you in the middle of that you're excited about? Or anything else that you want to chat about? You guys know I love talking with you in the comments down below. And give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I will be chatting with you in another video very soon. Bye!